How's everyone doing? This is your boy. Alright, this one is definitely going to be one that I'm going to get to the point on. This is one that I actually have enjoyed covering. Because it is one of the creatures that got me into Bigfoot. Or actually one of the movies. I'm talking about the creature of Boggy Creek in Arkansas, if I remember right. Also known as the Fauke Monster and different types of other names. This is a creature that is definitely seems to be one of the southern types of Bigfoot. Of course, I'm talking like the Florida skunk ape. Of course, these critters are seen in Mississippi, Louisiana, even here in Texas. Usually, they're bigger than people. They're big, naturally. Especially if they're Sasquatch. They're going to be bigger than us by default, usually. But they seem to be more the natural type, and less of the mystical types of monsters that seem to be up north and in Canada and Alaska. You even seem to have that, and there's even seems to be... It's almost a similar kind of thing with the Honesty. But I'm not quite sure if that one has a lot of supernatural or mystical ties. I do know that the Bigfoot, as I said, in the northwestern territories of this country, definitely seem to have that type of element. The southern ones, they sometimes they do, but many times they don't. They seem to be more like a scientific kind of ape, if you know what I mean. What I mean by scientific is something that is a little more of the natural vein of things. Supposedly these creatures are stinky. They smell like apes, basically. You try being around a male gorilla or a chimpanzee or a bunch of them for any short period of time, them things stink. Leave it at that. This is something very common with most apes, it seems to be. But anyway, I'm going to get to the point with this. The creature Boggy Creek, however, while it seems to definitely strike a similar thing when it comes to their appearance, even behavior, stinking, of course, these things seem to love to take out livestock for, dinner, and things like that. Pets go missing, hell, even a couple of people sometimes get hurt. But there's a very big difference when it comes to the creature of Boggy Creek. The main number of sightings, even the movie itself says as much. Of course, that was filmed in '72. The main number of sightings was around the 60s and the 70s. Of course, you've had some in the 80s and the 90s, but not too many. Even now, you kind of have a few. But I'm thinking this might have been one single creature, or, maybe a small pod or tribe of them that moved through the territory. And they just simply moved on once their food resources were depleted or they were in danger of being caught. And you got to understand one thing. When that film came out, there was a lot of people coming out there with guns, and even I think the sheriff's department finally had to put a kibosh on that one because people was wanting to bag this thing. And these creatures aren't dumb. And of course, Uncle Sam gets involved, you're not bagging nothing. Leave it at that. My point is, this creature led to a lot of research going on in that area. And the different thing about this creature was the one difference. I may have not gotten onto that, but I'll get to it now. And that was the fact that it only had 3 toes on each foot. That's not something that a great ape or a primate normally would really display. And of course, also, this creature seems to be nocturnal, which is another thing. Now, of course, Bigfoot definitely is. You guys know as well as I do, this creature's intelligent. It's not going to be stupid, and most likely it's evolved and adapted to nighttime foraging. However, there's also been reports that these things are in the day. They're obviously nocturnal and diurnal. So I'm not going to really put that out there too much when it comes to the Boggy Creek Monster. To me, that's typical, intelligent animal or individual that has had to learn to adapt to its environment. So naturally, of course, you had scientists coming out here and saying, this thing shouldn't even exist. It probably doesn't. Most likely, it's kind of like the Piltdown Man, which was a very well-known hoax, if you know what I'm saying. However, big however on this. I'm not so sure it's a hoax. I don't really believe that this is a hoax per se. I'm thinking you got to remember, there's always some type of fact with every fantasy. And I wouldn't be surprised if there is a creature from that area, the Fauke Monster or whatever, in that part of Arkansas. I do believe there's something there. Just like anywhere else down here in the South. These things seem to love, certain phylum of these creatures, these things seem to love, the swamps and things like that. It seems to be that they like hot, humid environments. And to me, of course, naturally, if you're, Boggy Creek, think about it, it's a big bog. Naturally, something like that is going to enjoy that area. Of course, there's a supply of fish, food, naturally, you got ranchers and things like that. Of course, they're going out trying to kill this thing because it's snatching off the, cattle. And that's pretty common with any kind of Sasquatch. It's not just, not just the smaller ones down here in the south. Of course, the ones up north are probably more than capable of doing the same thing, if not more so. Obvious reasons, they're bigger. My point is, these things have always been known to do this kind of stuff. Steal livestock. Naturally, there's even been a couple of times where people have been killed, supposedly. And, they're left as a message, leave us alone. So, I'm not surprised if, the least, that there is something definitely down in that area that is most likely surviving, if not thriving. There have been so many movies on this creature. Some of them good, most of them not. You gotta think about it. Most Bigfoot movies, with the exception of like Harry and the Hendersons, and of course, The Monster Boggy Creek itself, which was a very good movie in its own right. Most movies involving Bigfoot are cheesy or stupid. There are some that I'd recommend. One, of course, exists. I've done reviews on that. I need to do a review on another one. I did a review on a series called Primal, but there was also a movie called Primal Rage. I need to do a review on that. It was also very good, but it was more of the googly or the Nasqua than any type of real Sasquatch. But either way, something big, ugly, and terrifying. Good movie. Just going to leave it at that. But I'll get back to the point of the video of what I'm doing. I definitely believe that there's something that is down there, and I cannot reiterate the importance of at least the documentation of that area, because the fact is, had there not been sightings of that thing, you wouldn't have a lot of what you have now when it comes to the interest in Sasquatch or Bigfoot. I'm just saying, that movie had a very profound impact on me when I was a child and when I watched it. I loved it. I even still now have it in my personal collection. I haven't watched it anytime soon, but I remember enough about it that it was just very... of course, it would be considered hokey by today's standards, but it was still a good movie, if you know what I mean. That's my point. Always acknowledge if there's something that has had a historical impact, whether it comes to cinema or even events in real life, there's a connection. There's always something that's connected to certain things. And I definitely believe, in my personal opinion, yes, of course, you had scientists and stuff, that there was legitimate research. People understand that there was legitimate research and hunting that went on out in that area during that period of time after the movie come out. I'm just saying. I think it was kind of basically... How can I say it's the best way to make sense? I think Hollywood definitely approved of this for a couple of reasons. Of course, you got to remember, kind of around that period of time, you had, the Patterson-Gimlin film, which even now has been yet to be disproven. Me personally, I don't believe it's a hoax. I could be wrong. I don't believe it is, though. So, getting that out of the way, it was always around that time, and during this period between the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, this stuff was really hardcore. However, I also think there was disclosure when it came to approval of certain movies to be put out that was deliberately kind of thrown in the wrong way to put, kind of at this while it's soft disclosure at the same time is to also make people think, man, this stuff is cheesy, it's stupid, it's a bunch of baloney, ain't no one gonna believe this, ain't nothing out there. Think about that. So it's a little bit of both. That's why I decided to do this. It's very important for people to understand how Hollywood works as well. This creature I definitely believe exists, just like all other variants of the Bigfoot. For the most part, there's some kind of basis of fact here. And it seems to be one of the less supernatural elements when it comes to the sightings of these creatures. More along the lines of natural instead of, let's say, alien or demonic, if you know what I'm saying, or whatever else is going on. But I'm not going to discount any of that either. I'm just saying, this one seems to be kind of easier to explain or even disprove in some cases. That's all I'm going to say on that. However, you guys know what I do. I'm the producer for Dark Waters Incorporated, or Entertainment, I should say. And, of course, if you've had any sighting, cryptid, or otherwise related, supernatural, hit me up. My email is at westvic@iamdarkwaters.com. You guys be blessed and you be safe.